all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. Who or what was Humpty, and what did they do? You might find out, and I don't know about that, with me.
Okay.
Was he an egg? There's a lot of conjecture on this. Whether
he was like an egg man.
I don't think he was an Eggman. I think it was like some other thing. I think it was like a child that they all, beat the shit out of or something. And then over
was like
time,
a metaphor?
Yeah, and then the history was like, he was a cracked egg or something like that. But he obviously wasn't an Eggman. That's ridiculous.
I never thought about what he did, like a job.
And why were the horses trying to put him back together again?
Yeah, they don't even have opposable thumbs.
You can't do shit with hoofs.
No, with an egg you can, because they can stomp on him and then make like an egg mache.
Oh, so you're saying they broke him down even more to make him into a paste to remold him?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that was probably how you do it. You wouldn't just piece the shell together.
You can't.
This says, according to several war historians, the original Humpty Dumpty was not an egg, not a chicken, not a man, but a cannon.
Oh.
Yes, a large cannon, which was believed to have been used in English Civil War.
Humpty Dumpty.
I don't get that.
Sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. And then you're picked.
Yeah, they all tried to put him together again. The horses were involved.
I think it'd be easier to put an egg back together than a cannon.
Yeah.
If you're just a little bit off of the cannon, the ball doesn't shoot out, blows up in your face.
Yeah, but there's no way you can put an eggshell back together, especially if it's an egg
We
man.
just discussed that you could do it.
I just don't think it's I don't believe it.
It's possible. I looked it up.
You can't.
Wow.
You can't put the paste back in the tube, right?
On,
That's right.
on Patreon, let's crack an egg and try to put the eggs back together.
There actually was a bird's egg got knocked out of a nest right outside my door, just splattered all over the steps. It was really sad.
Aw.
Does anyone else get a
Abortion.
little bit? I get a little bit of joy when a bird flies into the plane, into a window, right?
Wait,
I don't know why. I shouldn't. Like, as long as they
in the
don't
window
die.
of your house?
Yeah, like as long as they don't die. It's a bit of adventure for the day. You're watching telly and poof, and you're like, I have some clean ass windows, man. You feel real proud of yourself.
Oh, they die a lot from that, though.
No. Well, I don't like it when they die. But when
Just
they
concussion.
I just like it
I
when they
just like
learned
it
a
when
lesson.
they're really, really hurt.
Yeah.
Just when they get CTE.
when they get up and they shake their head a bit.
Then they commit suicide in a parking lot years later from all the headaches.
Don't you remember that happening at school though? You'd be in school and then like a magpie would just fly into a window. That's like good fun.
I feel like I've told the story on this podcast
What?
about when a bird flew into a window and I was sleeping outside and thought I was going to have to kill it to put it out.
You were
its misery.
sleeping inside.
I was sleeping outside.
Why were you sleeping outside?
I was at a party, and so we slept outside, and I was with this guy that I had a crush on. We didn't have sex. Don't worry.
Another homeless person.
Yeah, another homeless person. And a bird flew into the window, and it was like really struggling, and he was still asleep. And I was like, oh no, I feel like I should put this bird out of its misery. But then I was like, if he wakes up and I'm like smashing this bird with a baseball bat, that's going to look
You meant
really
to put
bad.
them into like a brown paper bag or something. We did an episode on birds, didn't it? You meant to, when they do that, you put them in a bag so that they feel like they can adjust to the
Did
darkness.
we cover that? I don't know.
I don't know
We
if we
didn't get
covered that.
everything on birds. I know that.
Well, I got some gigs coming up. Has Hawaii happened yet?
Nope.
Hawaii. This week. Come out to Maui. There's only a few tickets left. Maui and Honolulu. And then I'll be at the Mirage Casino.
So August 5th, Maui. August 6th, Honolulu. That's this week. So
and then I'm going straight from Hawaii straight into Vegas. I've got a tough couple of weeks, me.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, I got the good stuff coming. And then I'm doing like a casino in Palm Springs. What casino?
So August 12th and 13th, you'll be at the Mirage in Las Vegas. And then August 26th, you'll be at the AVA Amphitheater in Tucson, Arizona.
Yes.
And then the 27th of August, Agua Caliente
Caliente.
Casino and Spa. You know what that means?
It means welcome.
It's hot.
Is it
Hot water.
Oh, is it?
Agua
I thought
Caliente.
is it okay? Is it Spanish or is it
Spanish.
Oh, I thought it might be Indian.
No.
don't know.
Caliente sounds Indian.
I don't know. I don't know. They I'm welcome. So to the Spanish tribe that are having me there at their casino,
That is
Hello.
a bad name, though. Hot Water Resort and Casino Spa.
hot water.
Like springs, I
You'll
guess.
be in
Hot
hot water
springs,
when you
yeah.
spend all your money.
It's in Rancho Mirage, out there like Palm Springs. So
Yeah, I might even duck out to the Palm Springs house for a couple of days, and we can play some golf after the gig. What do you reckon about that? What do you reckon about that? What do you reckon about that? And then I'm gonna go in September. I'm going off to London for a wedding, and I'm gonna pop up somewhere.
Ooh,
I'm
fun.
gonna pop up at some club.
be on the lookout. September.
Yeah, I'll tell you where I'm going. The Comedy Store. I'm going to the Comedy
Here's
Store.
the date, here's the time.
This is the thing. So the Comedy Store, I said, "Oh, can I come on?" Right, like I did the O2 last time I was in London. So I'm going back to a club, but it's my favorite comedy club in the whole wide world. And so I said, can I come and do a gig there on one of the nights? And they went, all right, well, you'll be a secret pop-in. I was like, no, I want my £200 and I want to be on the bill. I want to be on the bill like everybody else. I want to be middling or something like that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to relive my 20s for a day. I've told my wife to stay home. I said, I'm going around the comedy clubs by myself on the tube.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm not going with anyone else. I'm just going to pop in and see people and just go. I'm not even telling anyone I'm going. I'm just.
That sounds great.
I'm going to look at
everybody right now.
Yeah.
No, but I'm going to look at Time Out magazine and see what favorite comics of mine are playing in what comedy club. I'm just going to pop over that club and then that club and just like me 20s. I'm looking forward to it.
Good thing this podcast only gets like 150,000 listeners.
Yeah.
Keep it a secret.
Yeah, no, but it's.
They don't know the date. They don't know the
I haven't
date.
told you the date.
September. You know what September means?
Yeah, September means September.
It means welcome.
Do they say the month's different in Spanish? Do you say
I
them
just said
different?
it's in Tim.
You don't know.
Yeah, say the months, Luis.
You like different from English?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Enero.
Different language.
Why?
I'll say the English month
Why?
and you say the Spanish month for Jim. January,
Enero,
February,
febrero.
March.
Febrero. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. You're making this up as you're a macho.
Sombrero?
That'd be September, yeah.
They are all very similar. I can do them all, I think.
All right, March.
Is it Marzo?
Yep.
Macho Libre.
Abril?
May.
Mayonnaise.
I think it's
Mayo.
It's
Mayo.
Mayo.
Yeah,
Cinco
Mayo.
de Mayo.
Mayo, Junio, Julio.
Junio.
Agosto. Septiembre. Yeah.
Agosto?
Octubre, November.
That's a guy's
December.
But enero.
They're all very similar. December.
I've never understood
Not.
why certain countries call themselves something different in their own country and then in English it's something else. It's like,
They don't call themselves something different. That's what they call themselves, and then we call them something
That we
different.
fucked
No.
up.
The Germans asked us to call them German and they call themselves Deutschland. They still call themselves Germans.
I think we botched the translation. Just had to live with it.
No, I'll call you Deutschland. If you call you say what you want to be called, I'm that tolerant.
I
human.
agree.
I'll
I agree.
call
We
you.
should do that. But
And
we
then
just
like
haven't.
Holland, you got too many names. Holland, Denmark,
Netherlands.
not
Dutch.
Dutch.
Netherlands.
Dutch. What's the Netherlands?
Yeah.
And another one. They got another one.
Dutch.
Dutch. They call themselves Dutch. The
Well,
Netherlands.
Dutch is what they call themselves, but the country is either Holland or the Netherlands. Yeah.
Are they two separate countries? I always forget.
No.
No, they're the same country.
Yeah.
Holland and the Netherlands are the same.
Same
Yeah.
place. Same place. Too
How can you
difficult.
keep up with it all.
Why would they do that to us?
I know, and that's all the countries I can think about that do it. But do the Japan call themselves Japan, or do they have some other name for themselves?
I'm sure there's a Japanese translation.
I'm sure it's spelt differently. I'm sure they're using some of their characters.
Yeah.
That's what you got to say about the Asians. They've got a lot of characters, letter wise.
Yes.
Well, to
And
us it's
people.
Australia, and you say Straya.
This,
No, it's because it's like people saying America.
Damn right.
Yeah.
the Japanese names for Japan are Nippon and
Nippon, yeah.
Nihon.
Hmm.
Nippon. Nippon and characters. That is what they would write. And then Nihon.
Spain and España.
They call themselves España.
Well, that's
Troublemakers. Is Mexico just Mexico, or is it Mexico?
I think there's an accent on the E, but that's about as crazy as it gets. It's
That
about the
is pretty
same.
wild.
If I say Mexico, do I sound racist saying Mexico?
You sound racist?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I mean, no.
Or do I sound like somebody who's like traveled a bit and is a bit of a wanker?
You sound very
no,
traveled.
No. You don't sound like you've traveled.
Yeah.
But
Back in my day when I was in Mexico.
It actually is really
And
annoying when
Puerto
people like
Vallarta.
pop into accents. Like, I think Tommy Caprio has talked about this. He gets really annoyed when waiters. Or was it you?
It's
I do,
Wait,
a,
oh,
I do a routine
But he,
about it.
yeah, he
He's upset
talks
with
about that
Tommy
too.
Caprio
Yeah.
because Tommy Caprio would go, mozzarella.
Yeah,
Fromage.
but Tommy Caprio, he does that though. He does the he does
He
the
does.
oh no, you gotta have the bubble. He does.
He really
Gabagool.
leans into his Italian self.
Gabagool. Yeah. You know what gabagool is?
Oh, it's a meal or something.
No, I think it's prosciutto.
It's Capicola.
Capricola.
I'd
Like
like to
somehow
do it.
got butchered to gabagool.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
I'd
it's
like
just
to do a
Capicola.
scene with like a couple of mafia bosses where they're talking shit about each other, and then one of them gets like a Goodfellas scene. One of them gets shot, and they can say terrible things about their wives and this and that, and they're short, they're ugly, or whatever. And then, but the one that gets the guy shot is, your mother's sauce tastes like ass.
Hold me back.
Yeah.
Hold me back.
What'd you say about my mother's sauce?
It's disgusting.
Oh, gravy. It tastes like ass.
Don't forget about our Instagram. I just ate a pretzel for some reason, so I can't talk.
What do you mean for some reason? like it flew into your mouth. I have an open bag next to you. I saw your mitt reach in there and grab one.
I shouldn't be eating when I'm podcasting.
Unbeknownst to me,
I just don't know how.
I've just started digesting cum from this alleyway.
I don't know how it got in my mouth.
1 second it wasn't there. The next, full.
ID Cat Podcast on Instagram.
Yep.
And the store.
I don't know about that.com. And then we've got our Patreon, patreon.com/IDCat.
We're back doing the Patreon. The Patreon's back. It was away while I was in Australia. I know that's why there's the hot weather in England and all these things bad are happening environmentally, but there should be balance to the force right now.
Oh, and I have a new podcast too with Dave Williamson called The Mermen Podcast.
The mermen, like they're mermaids, but they're mermen.
We're men.
That's right.
That's right. We're like mermaids, but men.
Hell
yeah, that's good.
There's a lot of merman fetish online.
Really? They wouldn't have penises though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I used to do a joke about it with mermaids. That how do you have sex with a mermaid? You have to ask her to lay some eggs in the corner and go jerk off on them.
That's funny.
Yeah, but
They probably have like cloacas.
they don't. I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
Look, he's a marine biologist. He would know.
Yeah, I studied mermaids.
Yeah.
Good thing you got all the mermaid
At
lore
least with a
taken care of.
mermaid, you got blowjobs and titty fucks, and then
Yeah,
with the
true. Mermen
merman,
get blowjobs.
you still get blowjobs, and with you and David, you still get titty fucks.
Mostly me. Dave's in a little bit better shape with all the barbecue he eats. Yeah. So,
He's a future tit fuck waiting to happen.
no.
Calls it a brisket squeeze.
Brisket squeeze. I'm gonna have to tell him that. All right, I guess we should read some ads.
Now, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. How would you like to take care of your car if you had to keep the same one your entire life? That's how your brain works. You have to keep the same one your entire life. So why don't we treat it that way? How we care for our minds affects our experience in life. So it's important to invest time and care in keeping them healthy. There are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language or taking power naps. Power naps. There's also BetterHelp online therapy. I need therapy. I'm a therapy guy. I obsess on things, and my brain goes into a loop, and I need someone to clear the clutter out every now and again. And without therapy, I would have found it very hard during COVID. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat online therapy sessions. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/IDK. That's betterhelp.com/IDK. Today's episode is sponsored by PayPal Honey. Ooh, everyone shops online these days. It's the best way to get retail therapy without having to put on pants. And the best way to save money. When's the last time you got a coupon code in a store?
No.
Think about this. Think about this, everyone. Think about this. You've walked into a store. Did anyone go at the checkout and there's a coupon?
No, I'm always paying full price.
They did not. But thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is the thing in the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one that it finds for your cart. Honey supports over 30,000 online stores. They range from sites that have tech and gaming products or popular fashion and even food delivery. Imagine you're shopping at one of your favorite sites. And then you check out. The Honey button, it drops down. And all you have to do is click apply coupons. Wait a few seconds and Honey searches for the coupons and finds the best one for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you'll watch the prices drop. Anyone used it lately?
Yeah, actually, I bought a little decoration for my house. Saved like $20.
Little decoration. You're decorating now.
I bought a pair of jeans.
Well, that'll go well with the milk crate and the chair you've got so far.
Need more furniture.
Really added to the appeal. You can add Honey to your iPhone too. Just enable it on Safari and you'll find savings on the go. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. It's literally free and installs in a few seconds. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this podcast. I'd never recommend something I don't use. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/IDK. That's joinhoney.com/IDK.
Okay. Please welcome our guest today, Tim Talbott.
G'day, Tim. Now it's time to play.
What's happening? Oh wait, I can't hear in my headphones.
Oh, I heard it. Fine.
Do it in post.
It'll work out. G'day,
Fix it in
Tim.
post.
All right, so Tim's got a keyboard in his room. He's also in a
Okay.
house with a slanted roof.
You're gonna have to ask him questions, but this is a very specific subject, which I
Mhm.
like doing on this podcast because you learn a lot. But it's something. You're gonna have to ask him some questions. Yes,
Is your topic broccoli?
Not today.
Is it? Have you got to do with farming?
Nothing to do with farming.
Why farming?
Why not? We haven't done much
I
farming.
know, but I don't know what's like doing farming.
Farming covers a lot of things, man. So what do you farm? All right, so okay, so it's not to do with farming. You got to do with medicine.
No.
This is something that was. This is a specific thing that happened. What this?
It's like a real
70s?
event that. Well, you're not supposed to tell them when.
Oh,
it
yeah,
happened.
sorry.
Real? I didn't hear anyway. I didn't hear it. I wasn't paying
Yeah,
attention.
An event that happened. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Well,
talk
we'll even give it. It was an experiment. It was a very famous experiment.
Did you create COVID?
right there.
Unfortunately, no.
He'd be so rich.
It was an experiment. Experiment. So it wasn't a natural disaster or something like
Mm-mm.
that. It was an experiment that happened.
The something experiment. That's what we're talking about.
The something experiment.
Yeah,
I don't know any of them.
yeah.
Can you name any colleges in Northern California?
Yeah. What they call this? They call this college the Harvard of the West, I believe.
The Harvard of the West, Berkeley.
No, close.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right there, right there, right near
Their
there.
mascot's a
UCLA.
tree,
Yeah,
right?
you're right up there near Berkeley. Yeah, mascot's a tree.
Oregon
It's
State.
It's Stanford.
Stanford, Connecticut.
I said
Okay.
Northern California. You said Oregon State.
Stanford Blink Experiment. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
No.
Where do you go when you commit a crime?
Jail.
Yeah.
What's
What's
the other word?
for it?
Oh, first of all, I go to Forest House.
Hide this gun.
Yeah. Forest has shovels and no one knows why. Doesn't have a garden.
I used to. It's the Stanford Prison Experiment.
Oh, yes. And was this the one where they made some people prisoners and some people not prisoners,
Oh,
and
so
they
you have
found out
heard
the
of it.
people who were the guards were actually bastards.
Do you know about this?
If a person's put, I've never heard of it.
Okay. Tim Talbott has been a writer of film and television for over 20 years. His credits include the film The Stanford Prison Experiment, which won the Waldo Salt Screenwriting Award at the 2015 Sundance Film Festival.
Where is that award?
It's downstairs.
Where's
no,
Waldo?
I mean the Waldo Award. Like, is it all hidden
where's
with the
Waldo?
other
Okay.
awards?
Where's Waldo?
I have to mention. I might talk about this on the
Hold on.
Patreon, but
And also Tim wrote on the TV shows Medium, Chicago Fire, and South Park.
Oh.
And you can find him on Twitter at TFTALBOTT, which is TF Talbot. And on Instagram at DIM_DALBA, which sounds like somebody else's Instagram. It doesn't even have any of the letters. Dim_Dalba. I don't know. So follow him on there. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how this, without giving away anything on the Stanford Prison Experiment that Jim seems to know about anyways? How you got to this?
And what?
Like, why'd you get interested in it? Like, what led you to?
Basically, a friend of mine was working for a production company, and they wanted to hire another friend of ours to write this project, but they couldn't afford him. So
that's how
So
my
my-
career started.
Yeah. So my friend basically said, "Look, let's just have Tim write it, and if he fucks it up, I'll come in and fix it."
Yeah.
But initially, it was something that was proposed to me that I just thought was complete and utter bullshit until I did the research, and then it was fascinating to me.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, great.
No, ask me questions, man. I'm ready to go.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready to go. I know all this.
All right, Tim. So you know all of it, even though you didn't know
Yep.
about it? Okay. Tim, we're going to ask Jim serious questions about the Stanford Prison Experiment, which I don't think a lot of people know about. I didn't. And except for Jim does. And at the end of them answering these questions, you're going to grade them 0 through 10, 10 being the best in accuracy. Kelly's going to grade them on confidence. I'm going to grade them on et cetera. We'll put them all together, add them all together. If you score 21 through 30, Stanford Prison Experiment. That's what we're talking about,
Mhm,
as you know about it.
Yep.
11 through 20, the Arizona State Jail Analysis.
Mhm.
Not as popular.
Yep.
0 through 10, ITT Tech Incarceration Investigation.
Where's Stanford and Sons?
Ooh.
No, I didn't go with the Stanford route this time.
Yeah, I would have gone with that.
Yeah, Stanford and Son.
Come on, questions.
Okay. What was the Stanford Prison Experiment?
What they did was they got a group of students, because you can do anything with them. Students, I've talked about this on stage. What you do is you experiment on mice, then you do a few things, then you get up to primates, and then you go students. Homeless people, students, then us.
Okay.
Right? So you can pay students $50 and say, hey, you guys like weed and partying all the time, need $50. And they're like, do I? And then like, we're going to do an experiment, and they're all up for it, right? And so what you did is, I think it was all men. I don't think it was men and women, but it might have been men and women, but because that wouldn't be a real prison. But I'll say it's all men for the sake of this argument. And they put some as prisoners and some as prison guards, and they watched to see how they interact with each other. They put them in 2 different colored outfits as well. So it was a bit of a us versus them type of thing. And then they could find out if power corrupts or not, or whether people take on the guise of being a prisoner, or whether, that teaches them to do more crime, or that teaches them to be bullies or whatever.
Okay. That's good. We'll start. Those are going to be more specific questions. When did it occur?
This occurred in the mid-90s.
Who was the psychologist in charge of the experiment?
Ted Worthington.
That's just a name he made up?
No.
Famous psychologist.
Famous psychologist. Google it later.
Okay. What does Zimbardo say the point of his study is?
Zimbardo.
Yeah.
Is that a guy?
That's
It's his study.
it's
That
Worthington's
was the answer.
pseudonym.
That was the answer to the last question.
Oh, okay. So Zimbardo.
Yeah, Zimbardo.
Who is that's that like
Professor
El
Zimbardo.
Barto?
No, Professor Zimbardo.
It's Philip
Nice
Zimbardo.
shorts.
Philly Zim.
Yeah.
Philly Zim. What do
What
you
was
ask?
the point of his study?
I'd get out of the house.
What was the jail like? What did it look like?
It was a pretty bog standard. It was a white jail, more like you're an insane asylum type of a jail, white walls and stuff like that. Pretty basic rooms.
Do you know like where they built it or anything?
They built it in there was a big tower block at the university they were going to demolish, and they said, wait, before you demolish it, we're going to do an experiment on prison in this one.
How were guards outfitted to really look like guards?
It was mostly swastikas and like real guard looking type of stuff. Helmets with big points on the top of them. A big G on the front of them that said guard.
Okay.
Name tag that's like, my name is none of your fucking business.
How much were
Those are good.
how much were they paid the students?
The students would have been paid $50 a day.
What role did
In the 90s, that was a lot of money. That was like $70 today.
Okay.
Holy crap.
What role did Zimbardo play in the experiment besides running the experiment? What was his role?
Zimbardo was the governor.
Governor. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did they make sure the prisoners felt like prisoners before they even entered their cells?
Shackles.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, and they would have shaved their heads, washed them down, given them the soap and the outfits and all type of stuff, made them line up in a line, given them law and order before they got to the cells would have been the way to break them down and to make them feel less as individuals by giving them an outfit and the same haircut.
What is a degradation process?
It's where it's like hazing, where you degrade someone so much until they break down, like breaking a wild stallion in a thing. Like you don't just jump on the
I
cunt's
thought you were going
back.
to say my life. I thought you were just going to.
No, you don't jump on the horse's back. You first of all you go, oh, why the long face, fuck face.
What is de-individuation?
That is taking away your individuality to make you part of a core group.
Okay. What did the prisoners do on day 2 to, quote, stir things up?
They bashed their trays up and down and they sang, "We will rock you."
Okay. What were some of the mean things the guards did in response to the rebellion and to assert their power over the prisoners?
Rape.
Why'd you answer it like that?
I just knew the answer.
Okay. How did the guards...
experiment went well wrong in that segment.
How did
that happens in prison. The guards do it. It happens statistically.
We did that prison episode.
Yeah, statistically that happens in prisons. They would have done things like lights out and stop at you and all that type of stuff. And you're not getting a little rock hammer. And then you're not getting a poster of Rita Hayworth.
How did the guards break solidarity of the prisoners as a group after the disobedient behavior of a prisoner?
How did they break solidarity? Oh, they would have thrown him in the hole.
Okay.
Thrown him in the hole.
And then when and why does the experiment end?
It ends when all the information we need has gone in, but it ended
This particular one.
it ended when
Stanford.
one of them broke out.
Okay. What are the ethical problems with this experiment?
You're mistreating people, even though they've signed on for it. I imagine that at any time they could ask to leave, I guess there would have to be that. The ethical problems is I don't see any problem with it.
Okay. How many days was the experiment supposed to last, and how many days did it?
It was meant to last 6 days, and it went on for 3 weeks.
Okay. And then how do the results of this experiment relate to ideas we have been exploring recently?
Because should we do punishment over rehabilitation? Does punishing a person make them a better person rather than rehabilitating a person? So, like, when you put criminals in there and you just tell them they're bad and all type of stuff, and they come out and they recommit crimes, have they learned anything in prison except for, I don't want to go back there, which isn't enough for them, really. They haven't built any skills or anything.
We're good right there. All right. How did he do, Tim? 0 through 10, 10 being the best on his knowledge of the Stanford Prison Experiment.
It's hard to gauge because overall, the things that you were saying were in the ballpark of correct. But in terms of some of the finer points and details, I would probably say a 6.
All right. I'm going to call my next special the ballpark of correct.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. How do you do in confidence? He's very confident.
I mean, he was so confident on the rape answer that I'm going to give him a 10.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was very confident. I know he got a lot of them wrong, like Tim was saying. But you were very confident.
Thanks.
Ballpark of correct.
That's 16. I'm just gonna give you 2, so you're at 18. Arizona State Jail now.
Hey.
Arizona State. Nice looking women there.
Yeah,
Nothing
but
wrong
not in the
being-
jail.
Well,
Well,
it's an analysis.
know.
We'll see. All right, Tim. So that's on what was the Stanford Prison Experiment? Group of students, because you can do anything with them. All men. Some prisoners were some were guards. Watch to see how they interact. Us versus them. Like what?
That you were really in the ballpark there. Basically, they chose 18 kids. They were all profiled to be like normal, healthy American young men. And then with the flip of the coin, they were chosen to be either a guard or a prisoner. And yeah, it was all men. Some of them were university students at Stanford during the summer. And some of them were just people in the neighborhood.
Oh.
I
thought they were all
thought they were all
students.
students. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't all students.
Okay. And then when did it occur?
August of 1971.
The mid-90s.
1970.
1971.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would
You couldn't do this experiment in the 90s. They'd already changed the ethics laws so that you couldn't do it. Yeah.
70s, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I miss those experiments that you just do. Like in Sweden, when there was this whole thing in Sweden where they were going, we don't know if sugar rots your teeth. We all assume it does, but no one's ever done tests. And so they gave sugar to a whole lot of mentally challenged people, and they went, we were right.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Can't do that
Louise.
anymore.
No.
Or they waited till their teeth fell out and they went, yeah, sugar definitely does it.
Jesus Christ.
Couldn't we just taken our hunch?
Yeah.
Or just taking one tooth.
Yeah.
Who was the psychologist in charge of the experiment? Not Ted Worthington?
No, it's Philip Zimbardo.
Oh, Ted Worthington did the other one about the thing.
I think that's the guy from what's that movie?
Are you talking about Sam Worthington
Sam
from
Worth-
Avatar?
For Avatar, yeah. Okay, I was close. Ted Worthington's brother gets no acting work. So what does Zimbardo say the point of his study was? So what was the point? Yeah.
Well, the point was that Jim was really close there. That basically he wanted to see how institutional forces affected the individual.
Hold on one second. Before you keep going, Jim said to get out of the house. That was his answer. So
Yeah, and then
I don't think it was very.
and then I elaborated.
Well, he elaborated on it.
Okay, all right.
But also, it would have been to get out of the house because that's what happens. Like, he doesn't do this experiment because he's fucking busy. He does this experiment because I got to get a grant somewhere. Fucking, my wife's bothering me. Let's lock some kids up in prison. That's how you get to these things.
All right. So I'm sorry. I mean, they're right, but so keep going. So the point of the study, yeah.
Oh yeah. So the point is basically to show how institutional forces affect an individual, and that essentially, and it goes together with all those other things about dehumanization and de-individualization. I think I just choked on my own tongue. But yeah, the whole point was to see how the individual reacts to the system, and having all their rights taken away from them, and just the sort of imbalance of power that exists in situations like a prison.
Yeah, that I don't think we asked that question, but where would he get do you have to apply for a grant for this and then somebody funded it?
Yeah, I mean, he actually got funded from a bunch of different sources, including the U.S. Navy.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But and the real big difference with this experiment between, he's done dozens of experiments before this, but well, you're going to ask this question in a minute. So
you can jump ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That basically the only difference between this and the dozens of other experiments that he had done was the time span, because this one was an all-inclusive 24-hour-a-day experiment that was intended to last for 2 weeks, and they had to close it down after 6 days. So you got that exactly backwards.
Oh, right.
When you said it, I was like, yeah, that's pretty good.
It was supposed to go 6 days, but they were enjoying prison so much they went for 3 weeks.
They just went for 3 weeks.
They loved being out of the house.
Keep it going.
I reckon I'd be all right in that, because there's not the violence, but then no one's beating each other up. Maybe they did.
We're learning.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Was there shanks?
Do you think that Tim would have written a movie about it if it was just like, and everything was fine?
They loved it. They stayed 3 weeks and everyone had a good time.
So what was the jail like? Jim said it was an insane asylum type, white walls. They built it in a tower block.
Very similar to that. It was basically a hallway and 3 like offices that were converted into prison cells. And then across the hall, there was a closet that basically they used as the hole. And the whole thing was set up. One end of the hallway had a camera, so they filmed all of this.
Oh wow!
And so part of my research in doing this was watching 24 hours of actual videotape and transcribing it in order to get a feel of what this stuff was really like.
It was just like Big Brother.
Yeah, very much like that.
Wait, so how many hours you watched? 24. You watched all of it, or you watched?
Not all. I mean, all that they had.
Wow.
Which was about 24 hours worth of footage.
Okay.
How does it feel watching it? Like, do you have feelings about like what's going on? I assume you saw some fucked up shit, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it was one thing. I mean, that was part of the thing that sold me on the project, was watching that footage and just going like, wow, this is real. I mean, they really did, over the course of these 6 days, they broke these kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they just broke them. And then the most surreal thing was stepping on the set where they basically had measured the hallway and recreated it down to the last detail. And it was like stepping into the past. It was so bizarre.
Wow.
How were the guards outfitted to really look like guards? Jim said swastikas, helmets with big points. G stands for guard.
No, not quite that extreme. They basically had khaki uniforms. And the one thing that they were all given and told to wear at all times were dark sunglasses, so as to project a uniform. Like what Jim says, they all look like they're one force against the prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
And it also dehumanized them to a bit. So, you saw a guy, you never got to see his eyes.
Yeah, eye contact is big for like connection between humans. So yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And then how much were they paid per day? Jim said 50 a day.
They were paid $15 a day, which in 1971 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It wasn't, though.
It was for
college
struggling
students.
college kids.
In today's money, it's $150 maybe.
$150
Yeah, do that
a
for
day?
2 weeks when you're a kid.
Yeah, you're in college. You'd be
right,
happy with that. Yeah.
Happy with that now.
I mean, I'm sure
I pay you more than that.
they probably thought it was going to be easy, so that's just easy money. Then I'm sure they, in retrospect, it's like, I would like a lot more money to be abused.
I've done all sorts of things. I've always done all these focus groups, where you go and like try out a different new Whopper, and they give you like $25 or something. I did those.
I've always hated
the Burger
whenever
King.
whenever you make a TV show, what they do is they show it to a focus group, and I'm like, and they're like, the focus group didn't relate to this character. The focus group didn't relate to that, and you're like, are we really?
The focus group just wants money.
Yeah, they wanted a sandwich and $50, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if these are the fucking focus group we need.
What'd you think of this TV show? It wasn't Subway.
Yeah. There was one thing I had to test out a new beer, and it was like beer mixed. It was like already like with tequila flavored beer or something. It was by Budweiser, because Budweiser wants to take over every beer market. So when Corona did the lime, they were going to have lime beer, and then this was like when people were putting a shot of tequila on top of beer, and like we'll just have that already in a keg, and it was terrible. But we got to drink. We basically had a keg party. We all just stood around and drank out of this keg. And then at the end, you just said, and then everyone was drunk at the end. They're like, great beer.
Well, when we did the Jim Jefferies show, they said, we have a problem with this. They had a focus group. But the best compliment I got, they go, and the focus group have decided, and then they actually read, this is what the focus group think of you. And you're sitting there like this, oh, fuck, this is going to be some hard times, right? They didn't like my outfit, was one of the ones. But then they said, but they think you're likable and you can say whatever you want. And I was like, that's the only thing I've ever been asked, I've ever wanted.
What role did Zimbardo play in the experiment besides running the experiment? Was it governor? Or?
Well, he was a prison superintendent. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't have a bloke above him.
But wow, but isn't there, what's the guy that runs a prison called? I forgot.
A warden.
Warden,
The
governor.
warden is below the superintendent.
That's what I meant, warden.
Oh, no, but he was a warden or?
No, he was a superintendent. He was above the warden.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So did they have one of the students be the warden?
No, it was one of his grad students was the warden.
Okay.
Oh, wow. And then, what was it? And how did they make sure the prisoners felt like prisoners before they even entered their cells? Jim said shackles shaved their heads.
They did something very similar to that. They did put chains around their ankles. They stripped them, deloused them, and then gave them basically what were smocks. They looked like dresses. They were all made to look the same, and they all had to wear a pantyhose on their head to simulate having a shaved head.
Oh, but even before they got to the fake prison, though, what did they do? How did they get them there?
Before that, they had the actual Palo Alto police round them up at their homes and in front of their entire neighborhood and cuff them and book them and blindfold them and stuff them in the back of a police car. So, and then they drove around for a while. So that by the time they got back to Stanford, these kids had no idea where they were. They didn't realize they were in the lower part of one of the teaching buildings.
Hold on a second. Did they know they were going to get arrested or not?
Yeah.
Oh wait,
they did.
Oh, I thought they did.
But wait, but how did the cops agree? You just call up the cops like, hey, can you arrest some kids?
It's 1971.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
The cops were drunk.
All right. And then the delousing thing, whenever I see that, they throw that powder on them. I don't even know what louse is there. Is that like
lice? Yeah.
But they just throw it so haphazardly. Whenever I see it, I'm like, they missed a bunch of spots. Like
in this case, they basically used a deodorizing spray. So just sprayed them.
I mean, the fact that they stripped them down for an experiment, though, that is so that already feels unethical in a way. It's
it was all men.
I know, but I understand why they did it for the effect, but it's just
fraternity hazing.
Man, how demoralizing.
So is this part of the degradation process? Like Jim was saying.
I would say, yeah. Was that part making them all wear a dress in 1971 was pretty harsh.
One of them, though, would have enjoyed it. he'd be like, there's not even a word for what I am.
Soon. And then de-individuation. That's taking away your...
That was the idea.
That's a part of the experiment, yeah.
Yeah, one part of the experiment was, again, they wanted to de-individualize these kids. So they were given each assigned a number, and they weren't allowed to talk to each other by name. So you always had to refer to yourself by a number. So you are no longer even a human being at this point. You are your number. And you would think that this would take a long time to have an effect on these boys. But within the first 2 days, they were referring to themselves by their number in like writing letters home and stuff like that, which we shocked the experimenters.
They were like, hi, this is number 42, even when they were writing letters.
Yeah, hi, I'm writing, my name is prisoner 8612.
But there was only 13 of them. They could have just been 1 to 13. It would have been.
They could have, but they just gave them random numbers.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as good. 42.
Yeah.
86142 sounds 8642 sounds better than
Dang.
42. 42 sounds like you're playing sports.
What are you? I'm number 4.
I don't know if I remember this
I've
correctly.
been here a
Did they
while.
have visits from their family? I
They
can't
did at
remember.
one point. Yeah.
Okay.
But also the other thing to remember is that part of this whole experiment had to deal with boredom of the guards. You know, the guards were given a list of rules that they read to the prisoners, and they reinforced these rules every day over and over again. They also did these things called counts, where they would line them up outside in the hallway and basically run them down, you know, yelling out their number as loud as they could, as fast as they could, to the point where it just slowly over time, it dehumanized these kids and made them into a number, not a name.
And so if you were in the jail, you had to stay there the whole time, and the
Yep.
guards did too, or the guards?
No, the guards were on 3 shifts. So there's 3 guards at any one time guarding 9 prisoners.
Ah,
And when they were off, did they go home or did they stay
Yeah,
together?
they just went home. The
wow.
guards had, the guards had no real restraints at all.
That is crazy though, I mean, I guess it goes to show what that power dynamic can do, but the fact that they were able to get outside of the experiment and then come back and still like be in those roles. I feel like when you would leave, you'd be like, wait, what the fuck? This is actually kind of messed up what we're doing.
No, but that's what a guard does in real life.
Yeah. But they don't go home. They're like, you should have seen what happened at the prison today. Like,
I reckon you would all day.
yeah.
I reckon I've known a few people who've been prison guards. They reckon it's a shitty job.
Yeah. Okay, so what did the prisoners do on day 2 to stir things up? Jim said they bashed up trays and sang "We Will Rock You." I don't know if that's right.
Similar to that. Again, like in the same spirit, they basically revolted and jammed their beds up against the door and locked themselves in a cell and refused to come out. And so the guards that were on duty called in the other guards who are home like asleep or whatever to come in and break up the rest of them. And while this one prison cell was all boarded up and everything, they came in and rousted the rest of the guys and basically took away their mattresses and beds. And they were using all sorts of like psychological torture on these kids to the point where like if one cell did something, if they complied and did what the guards told them to, they would get a special meal. They'd get a Coke or something, and while the rest weren't fed. Like it just little things. And what's really impressive, or not impressive, but it's kind of scary, is the fact that they were told, the guards were just told, you have to keep order in this prison and you can't physically attack the prisoners. The rest of it was, they all made it up.
Oh, so Zimbardo wasn't giving them like things to do or say.
Nope. Other than just the basic rules of the prison, which they read in the beginning and then over and over and over again. Everything that the guards did, the guards developed themselves.
Now, so you're saying it only lasted 6 days. Why don't they revolt in prison every couple of days? If on day 2 they're already doing this, is this because prisons are better run than this, or they're nicer, or why doesn't this happen all the time?
I think they're better run than this, obviously, and there's also a much more oppressive system at work there. You have tons of guards and real restraints. That I just think it's you have to really push it to a really serious breaking point for prisoners to revolt. Like we saw around the same time that same year, Attica happened. And that was the same thing where they it pushed it too far, and people have a breaking point. The thing with this is that in the very first couple of days, these kids also just sort of realized that, like, what did we sign up for? Why are these guys, acting like such assholes to us? And we don't have to take this. We'll revolt, and it didn't work out in their favor.
And were they given yard time?
They were given. Some of them were put in the hole, like you suggested. They did get put in the hole, and then some of them, again, like they'd had their creature comforts taken away from them, so that they had to sleep on the floor now. And didn't have pillows or blankets.
Yeah.
Just that alone, I'd be done.
Were they allowed to opt out if somebody was like, I can't fucking do this anymore? Or was
Well,
it?
that's the thing, is that they came to believe that they couldn't opt out, because one of the kids had a psychotic break, and then they took him out and they had him have a meeting with Zimbardo, and he said, like, I don't feel good. I'm freaking out and all this stuff. I want to leave. And they said, do you really think we're going to parole you from prison for having a stomach ache?
Oh, jeez.
And basically he came back and freaked out with the other prisoners and said, they won't let us out of here.
Yeah.
You can't get out. And that solidified the opinion of the others that, oh shit, this has now become a real prison. And when they actually took that kid out of the experiment, because he was definitely, psychologically tortured, they told all the rest of the prisoners that he'd been sent to maximum security.
Oh.
So they all were expecting that,
Right. Like if they complained, it would be worse for them.
That's
it
the
could get worse.
That's the crazy part. You would think that when he goes, hey, I'm having a nervous breakdown, and you're like, okay, well, I'm a professor.
Yeah.
This experiment's gone through. But then he just said, you can't get out of here. Then that's fucked up. Yeah.
It would
But that
take
was
me
the
about
problem.
15 minutes to hit a psychotic break doing this experiment.
Then I would be like, oh no. Okay. So then, so what did the guards do? You said they took away the beds. It wasn't rape.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't rape. Not until
Okay.
later.
Okay.
Not documented.
So what were some, how did the guards break the solidarity of the prisoners as a group after the disobedient behavior of like a prisoner?
Well, like I said, they rewarded the ones that complied and disciplined the ones that didn't. They also took the troublemakers and they put them in different cells. So there are 3 people to each cell, and then they mixed it up so there was no more fraternization between the people that had started the problem.
What did they deem to be a troublemaker?
Someone that just resisted order and wouldn't obey the guards. And at one point, the first kid to opt out, or not opt out, but basically get himself out, was struck by a guard because a guard had been tormenting him on making his bed for over a day and a half, and basically he just came in and tore up his bed, and the prisoner freaked out and, grabbed him by the throat, pushed him against the wall, and a guard literally hit him with his nightstick, which you're not supposed to do. And that freaked everybody out.
Right.
Because they're like, holy shit, you're not supposed to. It says in the contract that we signed that you can't hurt us. You can't physically touch us. And the experimenters watched this go on and let it go. They're like, let's see where this develops. And that's what part of the problem with the whole thing is that the experimenters were all given roles in the prison. So they started acting their roles as the prison,
The warden and the superintendent.
The warden and the superintendent, to the point where it was more important for them to keep this situation alive and see where it went than it was to realize that they were actually harming these kids.
So how did it end after 6 days? What was the big event?
That was the next question. When and why does the experiment end?
Well, it ended after 6 days. Basically what happened is Zimbardo was one of his former students he was dating. There was
super ethical guy, obviously.
Fucking guy.
It's 1971, guys.
Former student, man.
Yeah, from the semester before.
1971, she was there with a big bush.
She came in on day 5, and they basically had parole hearings for these kids. And she saw what was going on and just was disgusted and confronted Zimbardo about it and says, you're hurting these kids. These aren't prisoners. These are boys. Yeah. These are, they're not even your students. They're just, you've got to stop this.
Yeah, it's a messed up thing. So some guy delivering pizzas. He goes, yeah, I'll do it. Piece of shit.
So the reason it ended was a lady came into it and said, what are you idiots up to?
Basically, yeah.
That rings true.
You guys are doing what?
Yeah.
Was there showers in there, like bathrooms? I mean, wow, they.
No. Oh, that was another punishment after the revolution, was that before that they would take them, they put paper bags over their heads, and the whole put your arm on the shoulder of the guy in front of you and walk them to the bathroom, and then you'd have to basically sit there while the guards told you shit right now.
Whoa, shit on command.
Wait, you'd have to shit in front of these guys?
You'd have to shit in front of these guys.
I tell you, I've done some shits that are so bad they would have let me out. They would have seen one of my shits.
I've seen it.
He needs medical treatment.
Do you remember?
But then, as part of the punishment for the rebellion, they gave them buckets. And
that's
they were
what-
forced,
That's
they
a
were forced to shit in buckets
no showering and
inside
shitting
their
in buckets.
cell, probably, right?
inside their cell. Yep.
And then that's just sitting there with you.
Yep.
$15 a day.
Oh, God.
Worth it.
Do you remember when you were going to pay that guy $100 to shit in front of us in that Boston bar?
Not in front. You make it sound like it was in the bar.
You want to say, okay, so we were in it was right across the street from where you were performing in Boston.
You're going to tell this wrong, but go on.
Okay. And it's this bar that I think it was like the Tam or something like that.
Yeah, the Tam.
And it was this old Boston bar. And one of us went in there and I was like, man, there's no door on the stall in there, like the toilet. If you have to take a shit, it's just like wide open. And I was like, I can't take a shit in there. And then I think you said you could. And then some guy either went to the show and knew you, overheard it and said, I can take a shit in there. And then you said, I bet you $100 you can't take a shit in there with no door.
And he took a shit.
He went in there.
Yeah, I know what
And
happened.
then we went in there with him with his brother and some other people. And I was like,
We weren't in the
brought in a
cubicle. We
crowd.
weren't in the cubicle. It was a urinal and a cubicle.
Yeah.
The cubicle was open with no door. And he was like, I'll take a shit. So we were all in there. And the manager of the bar came in because he thought we were all doing cocaine.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, what are you all doing in here at once? And I'm like, I just paid this guy $100 to do a shit. Okay, as long as that's all that's going on.
It was like, that's fine.
No further questions.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was able to do it.
No, he froze up. He was sitting there.
Just
Yeah,
making eye contact
Yeah,
with
he
a
had his
group of
dick
other
between
men.
his legs. He was doing the mangina. He was ready to go, and then he couldn't do it. But like, I don't even think there was like a seat on there. I think it was just against porcelain. Like it was pretty. It was a
gross.
rough toilet.
It was a dive bar, as you can imagine. It's a dive bar.
If no photos, I would have done it.
Yeah,
So did you
well,
get your $100 back?
Yeah, I think you were holding it above him. You were like, here it is.
I didn't go into the toilet and go $100 for a shit. I went and said I couldn't shit. This guy forwarded himself. Like that's why I thought you were going to tell that bit wrong. That I walked around going, "Who will shit for $100?" That's not happened. That didn't happen. But a guy said he could do it, and I said, "I bet you $100 you can't." And he gave it a go, and he couldn't do it. He fucking stage fright.
Sucks.
So it ended because of because I don't know if you said her name, the woman that he was dating.
Well, yeah, her name is Christine Zimbardo. She ended up marrying him.
She was already married.
wow.
Oh, she wasn't married to him
She
at the
married him
time.
after.
No, she married him after this.
Oh well, let's be honest. That guy's pretty controlling. You know, like she's not got a lot of freedoms these days. He's doing a lifelong experiment on her.
Oh my god!
But this was like 51 years ago, and they're still married today.
Damn, she's
Yeah.
got Stockholm syndrome.
They love each
Yeah.
other. So it was just her that ended it, or was like the school?
Well, she planted the seed. It's a little different than what happened in the film because for dramatic purposes. But Zimbardo basically spent the night driving around thinking about this stuff, and he came back the next morning and watched the videotape of the night before, and saw that things had crossed a line and that he had to end it.
Oh.
You know,
And he's like, it smells like shit in here.
So what? I think I know what we've learned, but what have we learned? Like, you know, that man can be cruel if we're put in the wrong situation, or do they learn anything where we still implement it into today's prison system?
Well, today's prison system, you know, probably the closest sort of parallel to what happened in the Stanford Prison Experiment is what happened at Abu Ghraib.
Yeah.
That basically they took a bunch of unsupervised kids and put them in charge of prisoners, and they with no supervision, and things went horrible. You know, they started fucking with the prisoners and posing them and stripping them naked and treating them inhumanly.
Yeah, that was bad. Whatever happened to that girl who was in the photos? Who was just pointing all the time.
Yeah.
Lindy England. Oh no, that was a different one. That was Sabrina Harmon. I think they all got in trouble, right? Maybe you know more.
Yeah.
I was looking when I was reading up on this yesterday. Abu Ghraib, it was like it came up, and I started going on their Wikipedia page, and I started looking at the pictures, and I was like, "This is terrible."
And I had never heard. I had never.
Oh,
heard
when
of
it first
that.
came out, the guy just attached to a battery.
Yeah,
and
like
he
this.
probably thought it was something
Like
more
that's a
serious.
guy. He's naked.
Yeah.
She has them like with a dog
And then
collar.
they piled all the naked guys on
See,
top of each other. And then they tried to
right
play
there.
it off as this. You go, like, you see, like, homosexuality in their culture is very bad. And we were
Like-
trying to do blah, 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 blah. And you're like, you're just being cunts.
This
man.
Iraqi prisoner was forced to perform oral sex on another one where they have bags over their heads. This guy's this guy's attached like a bed frame, and they have like urine soaked underwear over his head and stuff. But I'm pretty sure a lot of them didn't they go to prison? A lot of like these.
I think a bunch of them did. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it was not good. And as you can imagine, the Iraqi government was not happy. Or I don't think anyone was happy. I don't know. Maybe
Now, did that go from like 0 to 100 really fast, or was it like a gradual?
Oh, I reckon it was pretty fast.
Yeah.
And also, we were at the height of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Well, the height of the war in Iraq. And so it's like, okay, so why doesn't this happen more often, or does it happen more often and we don't know?
That's a good question, and I don't really have an answer for that.
Right. Yeah, because you think like if it happens at Abu Ghraib, like they must train prison guards now to have or there must be enough checks and balances on you have to lock a person at this, you're not to go into a cell there. There must be more and more rules. Like the rules in a prison must be very extensive.
Well, it's weird. For another project I was reading up on, basically a prison guard, and the fact that in the middle of this country, it's shockingly easy to become a prison guard.
Yeah.
You don't have to have many skills at all. You don't have to have much intelligence, and the training that they get is like a week, and then they're thrown into a prison. I mean, it's
Jack's
some
writing
crazy
this all
stuff.
down.
But the other thing is that Zimbardo's big sort of takeaway from this was that, there are no bad apples, there are just bad barrels. That the situational forces of a situation, sound like an idiot, can really influence human behavior. And so what you have to do is fix things on an institutional level, right, rather than trying to do it at the individual level, because basically the system always wins. And so if you fix the system, you have a shot at fixing the barrel and not having any bad apples.
Well, but it's not just prison. Like, think of there'd be some psychopath cunts that fucking run orphanages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not just prisons. There's, we all remember a school teacher at school that got away with a bit too much or whatever. I don't think as much now. I feel like...
No, when I was I had a teacher named Mrs. Cross. And she'd make you come up to her desk and she would pinch the shit out of you, like really hard, like you're on your thigh right there, like, and you're like, oh, and it was frightening. And you knew if you had to go up to that table, she was a big woman, she wasn't going to get up, that you were going to get like hurt, and it was just like, man, you can't.
I think that's what's so scary is like people that have those tendencies tend to lean towards jobs where they're dealing with vulnerable populations, whether it's students or orphanages or even prison. Like, I feel like you would want somebody who has lower education, because I would guess that the higher IQ or education somebody has, they would be less inclined to do things like this. I don't know if that's true, but
but the guy, the scientist doing the stuff, he would have been a very educated man. These were Stanford kids.
Were there any guards that didn't fall into those roles? Were there anybody who was like going against the grain?
Yes, actually, on all three of the guard shifts, what sort of illuminated afterwards was that there was one leader, one person that was a gung ho to do this, one guy that was his wingman, and then usually the third guy was sympathetic to the prisoners and tried to go easy on them. It was like, come on, man, just do what he says. And
were any of them friends outside before this happened?
No,
because they didn't know each other.
Oh, they made sure to do it. It
They're
is crazy.
They're friends forever now, though.
But it is crazy. More to your point too about like this, the bad barrels versus bad. It's 6 days. It was like a day or two in, and it was already like they're like,
the first day was chaos. Yeah.
Do you think the experiment would have been different if they used older people? Because I think maybe in my youth I would have been a bit more okay. We got to do this, and But I think now I wouldn't be as much like that. Do you think it might have been a youth thing, or?
I think it probably has some component. Yeah. I would tend to be this. I would just at this point. When the whole idea with this movie was to have the audience walk out and go, what would I do if I was put in this situation? Would I be a good guard or a bad guard? Would I be a prisoner that bucked against the system, or just fell in and did what we were told?
I think I'd be the same as I am in every job I've had. I'd be a lazy guard. I'd be the guard eating an ice cream underneath the stairwell, trying to hide.
I would think I would be a bad prisoner and a bad guard. I think I'd be both, because I think I would get upset that because I'd be like, if the prisoner wasn't doing what I was saying, I'd be like, man, this is a fucking experiment, dickhead. And then you get upset like that way, and then someone else would egg you on, be like, yeah. And I would definitely be a prisoner where I'm like, I'm not shitting.
I'd be a troublemaking prisoner, but I don't think I'd be a terrible guy.
I think I have the capacity to be. I wouldn't be able to be a guard at all. I would quit.
I'd be good in the hole though.
And I would cry the whole time as a prisoner.
Oh, the amount of cum on the floor of the hole must have been insane. You could, if you were the 7th prisoner in there, you could swim into the joint. The snorkel room, they used to call it.
Jim said there are no ethical problems with this experiment. None that I can see. And so, how long? Oh, and so the results of the experiment today, we talked a little bit about relate to ideas we've been exploring recently, punishment over rehab, stuff like that. Like, and that's kind of like what we were talking about as far as the institution of
right.
Yeah.
Trying to sort of fix things on an institutional level. And, we're not very successful. It's still, the prison system in this country is horrible.
Did this have any direct result on the prison? Like, did anyone look at this experiment and say, hey, and try to make some changes or something like that?
I believe so. Yeah. And then also this experiment basically led to the ethics laws that prohibit this kind of an experiment on people.
Oh, okay.
Because they're, even though over the long term, the researchers met with these prisoners and guards over and over again, like every couple of years for 5 to 10 years, I think. And there was no long-term effects, but in the short term, they were psychologically damaging these kids. You just can't do that anymore.
Did any of the guards and prisoners become friends afterwards?
What's funny is one of the guards, I can't remember if it's a guard or a prisoner, but one of the participants became a prison warden.
Oh, really?
Whereas the most brutal guard ended up becoming like a real estate salesman.
Oh, that's a tough job, man.
Yeah.
It's very competitive.
Real estate.
I'm telling you, fucking real estate people, they hustle, man. There's people who make a lot of money, but they're calling you all the time. Do you want to sell your home? And you're like, no, you just sold it to me. Do you want to sell it though?
You want to see a picture of me shitting in a bucket?
Now, we said that you can't do it now for ethical reasons. What are those ethical reasons we can't do it now?
Well, because there's clear evidence of psychological damage. That this, just ethically speaking,
then we shouldn't be allowed to get married.
That's true.
Hey yo,
the marriage experiment.
Yeah, the marriage experiment. We're going to put 2 people in a room for the rest of their lives.
We're going to give them equal power, supposedly. What the movie? I've never seen. Can you see the movie now? Is it on any of the platforms? Right.
I mean, you can get it on. I believe on Amazon.
Yeah.
And for a while it was on Netflix, and it comes and goes.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, you're checking it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
All right. So this is part of the show.
It's on HBO Max.
HBO Max. Yeah, who is in the movie? I didn't even look up.
Right now, Tim's like, I got to call someone.
I'm not getting
residuals. Where's that HBO Max money?
It's like fucking A.
The first review is a mentally taxing watch.
It is. It's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah.
But it was also sort of really cool for me because we premiered it at Sundance, and with a room full of like 1,500 people, when the title card for day 2 came up, there was this collective like gasp, like all this shit happened in the first day. And that's when I knew we had the audience.
Yeah.
But,
they're like, geez.
They're like, Jesus, this is such a slog.
Yeah. I was,
Billy Crudup?
Billy Crudup played Zimbardo.
He plays Zimbardo.
Billy Crudup. Billy Crudup.
It must have been a cheap film to make, though, mostly in one building, right?
Yeah, it was shot in Burbank. Out by the airport, and it's amazing, though.
Every now and again, you saw Jay Leno walking past these cars.
I shit in my car. Okay.
Oh, I might be wrong. It might not be on HBO.
What's that?
It might not be on HBO. It said that in a different thing, but when I clicked into it.
Don't worry about that money, Tim. It's not coming.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, they bloody screwed you again.
Okay, this is a part of the show called Dinner Party Facts. We ask our guests to give us a fact, something obscure, interesting about this specific subject and I mean, I didn't know anything about it before, so you could literally say anything, but if there's something else that you have for us, a little tidbit.
Well, I have a couple of things from the production, which I thought were pretty interesting, but none of you guys have seen the movie, so
I'm gonna watch the movie.
Yeah, but I'm
gonna watch the movie.
Kelly's seen the movie.
I've seen it.
I'm watching it tonight. Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Okay. Billy Crudup, who plays Zimbardo, his biggest, most emotional scene in the movie was shot on his first day. Like all the other people had been working for 2 weeks before he came in. And then he had to come in and do basically the scene where he ends the prison experiment. And he's phenomenal in it. So I thought that was really weird. It must have been a challenge for him as an actor to come in and do your most what the whole movie's building up to on day one, scene one. I thought that was pretty interesting. The other thing is there are a couple of sons of celebrities that are in the cast. One of them who plays a prisoner is Jack Kilmer, who's Val Kilmer's son.
Yeah.
And this one I just found out from a friend of mine a couple of days ago. One of the kids who plays a guard, his name is Harrison Thomas, and his dad is Dave Thomas from SCTV.
Oh, sweet.
Which I was like, whoa, I had no idea. I met the kid. I had no idea his dad was Dave Thomas.
I thought you were going to say the founder of Wendy's.
I thought so too. I was like, damn, that family is
The
on
other
top
one was
of it.
Hank Jefferies.
Oh, you didn't know he was in
Yeah,
that?
he played the short prisoner.
The short prisoner. All right. Well, thank you for being here, Tim. Again, everybody check out the movie. It's not on HBO Max, just so you know. It's
Amazon Prime.
Stanford Prison Experiment, Amazon Prime. Just put it into your Apple TV or Roku, whatever, we'll find out.
Yeah,
And you can
I know it's on Apple TV.
You can follow Tim on Twitter at TF Talbot and on Instagram at DIM_DALBA. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. That was it was interesting. I know more now about that than I did before.
Do you?
But I knew a lot before.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah. So
what did you learn?
People, you just got to be nice to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
You learned a lesson. You didn't learn any facts.
Yeah, treat people as you'd like to be treated.
Another good lesson.
Yeah.
You didn't know that
Yeah.
before?
Oh, I knew it, but I didn't have anything to back it up.
No data.
If you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and goes, I reckon if I was a guard, I'd treat you nicely, go, I don't know about that, and walk away.
Why would they say that at a party?
It's a long party.
Run out of topics.
Good night, Australia.